No, but I've got a boyfriend. For the anxiety building in you. Three. No. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go.
X-Ray magazine is coming in now, and it's all. No, I actually have memorized that whole bit. I actually posted it on Twitter that whole bit because it's so good. A little sign of what's to come in this episode, because I know pretty much all the comedy characters and all the fake adverts are gonna be in our favourite quotes already. But anyway, this is the D-Trap Spinners with Miles Pennell and Gary Forrestal. Gary, how's your week been, man?
Mate, just been sort of writing about racism.
Love it. One of my favourite topics.
I did an analysis of an article in the Daily Mail.
I'll stop you, Steve. You're boring me.
Oh, I thought you'd be interested.
No, go on. No, I am. Funny story about the Daily Mail. I told you about this, didn't I? When Brexit happened, I went into a Sainsbury's on the day of the vote, and I bought all of the Daily Mails. It cost £5, and then I just said, and then I went, I'm just going to bin these to the person, and the person just went, yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
they're just. I was like, you absolute tool case. Why did you spend £6 lining the pockets of Rupert Murdoch? And then I did put the Rupert Murdoch bin. Oh, wasn't it? But whatever, doesn't matter.
But yeah, I mean,
sorry,
I picked the article because it's so racial. There's so many racial undertones. Anyway, we're not going to go into that, but that is how my week has been. Got it in yesterday. So I'm just sort of just chilling out, mate.
What are the main takeaways? What is your conclusion on race? That we're all the same and that we all kind of, is that what you came up with?
No, actually, that white people are superior. Mm-hmm. That is a joke. Do you really want my conclusions on the essay?
Keep it short.
Well, it's difficult, but I compared a offence of money laundering from a black defendant, a Muslim defendant. I found another article with a white defendant. The way they describe them and position them is completely different. Very sympathetic with a middle-aged white woman. Very, very scathing and racial undertones. But racism has gone from years ago in you know, those terrible, like, so a really overtly racist, to they're in a gang. If you ever see that gang, they're always associated with black men. So they use different words that are coded, that are more subtle, that are just as harmful, and allow the racism to go unchecked. Because if anyone read the article to Daily Mail, they said, we never mentioned he was black. We never mentioned he was Muslim. But everything they did around that did reference those things. Anyway, I don't think
I knew that already in a way. It's all up here, mate. It's all up here in the mind bank.
Yeah, not Miles Pennell, not arrogant, ladies and gentlemen. What was it? We were talking about narcissism. We were talking about
last episode.
I must say this. I do still owe an email to Sam. I've pretty much written it. I just need to finish it off. So Sam,
a lot of anticipation on this email. A lot of pressure for you.
You will get an email, I promise you. But it's been a while. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this because we haven't done a D-Trout Spinners normal show where we review one of series 2, which we're still doing. We haven't done that for over a month. We've done XFM in the Community Special. We did an interview. We had a couple of weeks where we couldn't record. So it's been ages.
Flash be bothered.
Because I had to do some bloody prep for this episode, whereas like interviews and things you don't have to prep.
That's music to my ears, that is.
Is it?
Sort of. I'm quite excited to see what you've come up with. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no. By prep, I mean like writing down my favourite quotes.
Yeah, actually, I have scribble notes on the back of a fag packet.
Spoke about this off air. Like I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to do a little, just a cheeky little feature. It's not really a feature, but it's
edgy Gary.
It's as edgy as you'll ever find.
It's alternative comedy. It's like the 1980s again.
Well, the reason I'm worried is because I'm worried of my uni people here. If they took it out of context, it sounds offensive, and they're very.
I plan by the end of this episode to take all of your funding away from your scholarship.
Yeah, no, that's another 45 grand, mate. I need that. Need that. No, by the way, that's over 3 years, so that's
All right.
I'm not
taxpayers paying that.
No, actually, the ESRC it's a private organisation. Still attack
This week we discuss episode 36, 26th of April 2003. This episode is notable for the introduction of the characters Camp David, the right queer gay, and Ho-Lee Fuk, the little funny Chinese fella, as well as Ricky leaving the studio in the middle of Monkey News. I'll put a link to the original show in the description, so do feel free to go away, listen to that, and then when you're ready, maybe make yourself a nice cup of tea or pour yourself a nice glass of cold Sauvignon Blanc and join us now.
Sam, get the gin out. No, I'm joking, Sam. He can take it. I think, and you haven't actually asked me, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's a very good episode. It's up there with maybe certainly in the top 10 of episodes, maybe not in the top 5, but it starts off very strongly, maybe flags a bit in the middle, and then ends strongly with Monkey News and Rockbusters answers and things like that. So, but yeah, it's not just all about the characters. Before we started recording this, I thought there's no way I'm going to mention. I'll mention Ho-Lee Fuk, but I won't mention.
How are you spelling that, Gary?
I won't mention Camp David, but I just did by mistake. But yeah, it's a good one. It's funny that I noticed all of the ones where Carl returns, whether it's from a scheduled break or illness or holiday or anything like that, there's always more antagonism at the beginning than there usually is. And there's kind of that spark. It doesn't get too nasty, but it just sort of makes it, you sort of you listening for what's happening next, even if you know, because it's kind of like getting the bit of tension, which always helps this show. Kind of, it makes it seem more real and it's more interesting. So it's a good start. I think the comedy characters, that's not the best bit.
Do you seriously not think that's the best bit? That is the best bit. That's what this episode's all about. The Camp David, the right queer gay, Ho-Lee Fuk, the funny Chinaman, and also the adverts that he records, the Dr. Frog and the X-Ray Magazine, the sort of Derek style.
Just coming to that is my favourite bit. It's the talk around that, but the comedy characters are funny. And it's funny, the residual bits of, I think it's in my favourite quotes, but where Ricky sort of muses. He questioned, like, is this show offensive? Not referring to the comedy characters. And Steve goes, ding dong, oh yes, this is what we were just doing about 10 minutes ago. That's funny. And I do like the comedy characters. It's just not necessarily my favourite bit. But overall it's a very strong episode. It's up there. I mean, our favourite quotes, I always say to you, limit it at 5, and you sometimes have 10. I say, no, we'll do 5. I've got about 13, but I won't do them all. And but most of them, interestingly, came from the beginning of the show, the first half hour.
I know what you mean. But it takes, on that note, actually, whilst we're sort of here, it takes Ricky 16 seconds, I counted them, for him to bring up the fact that Steve's ill and that Carl's already annoyed. Yeah. Carl's already annoyed. So Ricky's straight into action with his big ladle, and he's ready to stir the pot. And I do agree with you. After those breaks, when the antagonism is much more heightened, I think for me this is like the perfect concoction, what I look for in the perfect XFM episode. So I'm sort of agreeing with you. It's probably one of my favourite episodes, this. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Well, we're having it now, mate. But no, it's certainly up there in my top 10. Wouldn't necessarily say it's the absolute favourites. All the quotes I've got are funny to me, that they make me laugh, or not laugh, but as much as I ever laugh, which is just a slight smile.
Yeah.
None of them were like so stand out that they were like a classic. They were very good. So there isn't a real classic moment to this show, but all of it is very strong and very good. And Ricky absolutely is stirring. He is stirring so bad, because he's like, what's the bit where he says...
Well, he starts it straight away, doesn't he? Because he goes, "Cut, Carl, you're not impressed." You know? I don't understand why.
Yeah, that's when she says, Steve says he's gone back to his parents in Bristol. What do you think of that, Carl? It's just those little comments. It's like, come on. I know you. Also, all I need to say, and you're gonna slag Steve off because you're brilliant at it. But actually, with that, I'm with Carl in that one. Like, it's so weird to me to kind of like the thought of being ill and going to one of my parents. Like if I turned up and I had a cold, and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like they wouldn't kind of look after me. I think you should be. I'm kind of more with Carl in that. Like once you're an adult, you can go to your parents, and if you're ill, they might give you a tissue. But I don't think your parents should be.
How well did you get on with your parents though?
No,
Because that will inevitably help. I used to go around my grandma's house when you had sick days from
grandma's,
school,
yeah.
and that was the best experience. I remember one time, like she'd always make me, like my sort of get well soon fixed recipe was steak and chips, and she'd always make me steak and chips bizarrely. Now one time she gave me like a little bell, and she was like, "Now darling, you could use this bell to summon your grandmother," and I was like,
"Really?"
Even I knew, I'm serious, and it was like a little ding 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 ding.
David Mitchell tells that story of him having a bell
oh really?
As a child at his grandparents' house, and it was a true story on Would I Lie to You.
This is true as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying because it was on Would I Lie to You, I need to tell you whether it's true or false, and it was true. Like, and so it's a known thing about David.
Pretty outrageous, isn't it? That your elderly grandmother,
little bell,
is going to go upstairs and say, "Oh, can I have another orange squash, please, in a cold compressed and a hot water bottle?"
No, but actually, to be fair, grandparents, same with me. They are the ones who would look after you when you're sick. And if I'm sick, my grandma always says, "Oh, come to see me," and I'll, but I always worry about getting her sick. But I would go to them. But parents, it's just like the thought of going to my parents when I'm sick. But it's interesting that there's basically, it's another, and he does this throughout his kind of early career. He sort of peppers in references to Derek. He sort of brings Derek out at different points. So we didn't know it at the time, or people listening, but the first advert, that's Derek. That's an outing for Derek, and a very early outing for Derek.
A lot of I suspect a lot of listeners probably know this and have seen it, but that video, I think it was on an extra on some DVD that Ricky put out, some stand-up thing, but he did like a sort of 2 to 3 minute sketch of Derek, and for some reason there's all these conspiracy theories on Reddit saying, "Oh, Ricky doesn't want these to get out because it's a huge like cover up for the sort of sincerity of Derek," whereas sort of the argument there would be, he literally was taking the piss out of someone with learning difficulties.
I agree with that person. Was that a poster on Reddit, did you say?
Yeah, like someone had posted it as like an MP4, and but it is on YouTube. I'll post it.
No, I don't think it is on YouTube unless you checked recently.
I'll find somewhere and I'll post it in the description.
No, but what I'm saying is it used to be on YouTube. I watched it years ago, but Ricky had it taken off. Yeah, it's like Derek. It was like as if a news reporter was doing a feature on Derek, and he was just showing him around the different rooms of his house and his grandma's house, and it was quite funny. And I would prefer if that was Derek and there wasn't a series about it. It was just just a little character. Yeah, I agree with that poster actually. Probably he's so kind of worried about seeming to be taking the piss, because Derek is like Derek the series is sensitive. It might not be that funny or entertaining, but he doesn't take the piss out of Derek. Derek is shown as a warm character, like the good character. But yeah, this is like an outing for Derek, as if, and it does sound just, if you don't put that warmth to Derek, it is a bit taking the piss out of people.
That's the problem with Ricky Gervais's writing nowadays. Like, he views characters in binaries who are either good or bad. He's got no like perspective or nuance. And I know a lot of our earlier shows, we talked a lot about, I'm definitely not in a position to criticize Ricky's writing stuff, for Christ's sake. Like, he's made loads of money, but for me, it doesn't. Those shows don't land. Anything after Life's Too Short onwards, An Idiot Abroad aside, they're great because they're Carl projects. But and also on this note of XFM plagiarism, I know you weren't. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Life on the Road, the David Brent
I've seen this
film, he does actually resurrect Ho-Lee Fuk for that. There's a bit. He's part of a new office, and he's met like a kindred spirit at that office, and they sort of have a bit of banter. Yeah, he resurrects Ho-Lee Fuk. He's got, I've got a comedy character for it. You're like, it's funny because you do sort of think, is all this stuff just in Ricky's brain, or do you reckon he's like listened back to the XFM shows and gone, I could use this? I don't believe he does do that, because
Ho-Lee Fuk is like I've heard people use Ho-Lee Fuk before Ricky. It's like the classic offensive Chinese name that's not real. But having said that, there are other examples of Ricky using things that happened on the XFM shows in his later work, either his stand-up or TV. And some people have problem with that. I don't have problem with that at all, because it's his work. Even if something Carl said, the XFM shows are his jointly with Steve and Carl, effectively, and it was his body of work. And you can plagiarise yourself in academia.
Absolutely,
you're not allowed to plagiarise yourself, but I think in comedy it's okay to plagiarise yourself. It's kind of Ricky's show, so it's okay to use things in later work. But
I like it during the start when he's doing the whole comedy characters bit, and he's going through names, and he stops before he says them because he knows they're offensive clearly, and then Carl goes right, and he says it a few times, but it's just, I feel so sorry for Carl because he's going right. He's really trying to hold it down, like trying to hold this. But if there's anything to learn from the XFM shows, is you can't hold Ricky Gervais down. He will do. He is Red Bull to the flag, as Steve points out in one of the episodes. He will just do whatever he likes, and that's not to say it's got anything to do with the listenership. He did it at the Globes. He'll do whatever he wants.
But to be fair to Ricky, if Ricky thought what he was doing wasn't entertaining to people, he wouldn't just do it because he likes doing it. He does do it because he likes doing it, but he also knows, because he's got a very good brain for this. I know it's probably gone a bit wrong recently, but he's got a very good brain for what's entertaining back in those days, and he knows it's funny.
But it's funny, you wait till that episode where we're going to get to, where Ricky can't do his feature, where they do the take out the middle vowel.
No,
I find that a really hard listen,
for all
the right reasons. Like,
was emailed in actually a few weeks ago and said, I can't wait till you get to that episode, and I can't wait either.
So Steve talks a lot about the Benji shop, and I've done a lot of
it just was.
Yeah, I found the menu to Benji's. Do you want to hear some of the offerings?
Go on. Yeah,
about 30 minutes.
I've looked up before, but yeah, go on.
So Benji's was like an old chain. It was started by someone. I think they set up the first one in Islington, but they're referring to the one in Soho.
Yeah, it was a low rate or low class, not low class, but it was a low sort of quality pret-a-manger. This is sort of like
why don't they exist again? Because you can get a chicken with sage and onion stuffing sandwich for £2.20. All of their sandwiches are £2.20. They weren't joking where he could get 2 sandwiches for under a £5. Really? Even they've got a gourmet sandwich which is 30 pence more, so you could get a roasted chicken with mozzarella and pesto.
I'm just gonna make a prediction. I know I might be wrong here. Yeah. I imagine the word gourmet is misplaced and not necessarily accurate. I don't think it's gourmet in the sense that Gordon Ramsay's restaurants are gourmet. I think get a little bit of pesto in that with the chicken. That's the gourmet.
Their tagline was like a picnic basket, only bigger.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm all for
it's cheap. $1.50 for a bloomer. That's better than Greg's, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't go to Greg's. But
you told me that one time you went to Greg's and you ordered 2 bacon sandwiches.
I was on the phone to you, and I think you were going for a problem or something. There was some extra reason.
I remember that. Yeah, I think
there's something. But when I was going to the library, I haven't been to the library for months because it's been closed. On the way to the library is a Greg's, and I used to get a bacon sandwich every morning. But I was so hungry that morning that I ordered 2. And I felt so bad afterwards after eating them. But I left the library after about half an hour as well because I was just so I was like a snake.
Who hasn't been in that? Greg's is my hangover cure. Get a couple of sausage.
Domino's for me.
Yeah.
I've got half Domino's in the fridge.
How are you going to heat that up? Are you going to put it in the oven or in the microwave?
No, in the oven.
Oh, not a monster, are you? Who was in the right, Gary? Carl or Robin?
Well, you don't need that. Robin is clearly Carl is in the wrong in that scenario in every single way. Carl is being, Carl's an interesting person. That's probably a down point of his personality because that's a genuine thing that probably upset Robin. And, clearly Robin's in the right, but then Carl has normal thumbs. So, weighing up, I don't know who's better.
Do you not think, though, Right, Carl kind of is right. This is a discussion they have towards like the midpoint of the show where Carl, they've organised to meet up with a drink. Carl hasn't been told that Robin Ince, who we've been trying to get on the podcast incidentally, is going to be at the pub. Carl finds him irritating.
Ricky does, by telling him that he wasn't going to be there, that and lying deliberately.
Yeah.
But what Carl says to Robin at the time is so offensive. It's so bad.
But do you think he said that? Like, because they contest that, don't they? They go on. Did you actually say he did? It was unbelievable. Yeah, Steve.
I believe he said it.
But the fact that I said, was he going to be here? You know, I don't like him. I find there's a couple of times, Carl, this episode, it's quite hard to make me feel very awkward listening to and watching things nowadays. But those two moments really make me wince. There's this time and towards the end of the episode where he's talking about him going away with Suzanne's parents.
Oh, I love that bit.
I love that too.
I'll come to that.
But the thought of doing that when you are trying to maintain the best relationships you can with your stepdad or your stepmom, you know, it's always a cliche, isn't it? The mother-in-law. But
he's not. That's the thing. Carl isn't trying to maintain the best relationship with his stepmom and dad.
You should do, shouldn't you?
I think he should. But I'm saying he doesn't. He's not even trying. He couldn't care less about having a good relationship with them as long as they don't.
That's mental. I think that's mental. Like you can't go okay. Especially he actively enjoys it. He goes, I'm loving this.
But that's Carl,
I love. There's a little bit of darkness when Carl says that. I'm loving this.
I love that story because it's not the funniest story Carl's ever told. It's not the most entertaining story Carl's ever told about his not childhood but past, very recent past in this case. It is funny and it's entertaining, but it's not like at the top. But it's so real. Like it's so, and I put myself in Carl's position, and I can, unlike you, I can empathise a bit with him. Like I do understand that kind of wanting, like if you're on holiday with your parent, your other and their parents, and their parents are always trying to come on and kind of do things with you, but you just want some time on your own. I can totally get that, and I'm with Carl there. Like I would have.
That's why you go on holiday on your own, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This has never been an issue for me because no one's ever come on holiday with me. I am available for holidays if anyone's interested. No, I've been with girlfriend's parents. Yeah, not holiday, but days out. No, I'm just
We've been on holiday, and I found you passable.
Have we been on holiday?
Right, yeah.
Oh, and to Edinburgh.
Oh, Edinburgh. Yeah. There we didn't kill each other.
Spain.
Yeah. Well, we will do that this year. Well, hopefully next year.
I need to drive for that.
I can't wait to see you drive, and I can't wait to be that annoying.
You won't be saying that when I mount the roundabout, mate, when you're on the passenger seat.
It can't be that bad, the roads there. It'll be all right.
Well, you drive on the right as well, which is a annoying thing.
Some would say the more correct way.
Yeah, but another thing is that I think Ricky's in this mode. Ricky always does this. He's like always tries to cover himself, and you brought that up earlier that he was doing that this episode, but it's particularly kind of prevalent in this episode. I think you'll notice he's always the one who says the naughtiest stuff, but he's always the one that sort of says this is too naughty, and he'll switch from one to the other. And it's that years later he'll get famous, and he could always point to the bits where he was saying like, I just want to say one example where he actually goes, he completely contradicts himself within 5 seconds, and it's where he says like
the dog people. You're going to mention the dog people. Yeah. Yes, I was literally about to say that.
Okay, yeah. So he's Carl's describing it, and like back leg, top half a woman, bottom half a dog, which is obviously bullshit. But
and also Carl, the first time Carl said that, he would have been reading from some sort of article where probably was the term that they described.
Era. Maybe it's in the Victorian era, the way that it is. Carl's describing it, and he says, yeah, dog people. And Carl says, yeah, dog people. Not dog people. They're human beings with just deformed legs. So he's kind of, and that's the ultimate switcheroo for Ricky. He'll say something naughty. It's not that naughty, dog people, but he's straight away like contradicts himself, and he's like, no, we can't say that. Like he's always the one saying, we can't say this, we can't say that. Yeah. Like genuinely, he'll make genuine points like that, and then go on and say that, because then he's like, you can't say this. They're just they're normal people, and then then they start to like do this little thing, like Steve says, put down a bowl of wine, and which is really it's a funny part of the show. But Ricky then does an impression of her, like, "Arr." And if you notice, none of the other two don't go as far as doing an impression of an actual dog, like they just funny jokes. But Ricky is the one who says, no, we can't do this. And as soon as it gets like into the chat about it, he'll interject with the most naughty thing that's been said. And that's just an example, one of many examples. And it's interesting in the show. And I'm not saying, oh, I don't like that bit of the show, or, oh, it's too offensive.
No, I know. Yeah.
I like it. It's just an example of how Ricky plays two roles. He plays two roles.
Absolutely. And he does it again, actually, towards the end of the episode during the reveal of the Rockbusters, where Carl goes TTD, and it was Tourette's Trent D'Arby.
Yeah, Terence Trent D'Arby.
Terence Trent D'Arby. And then Ricky says, right, we're never doing this show again. And that's okay. You can say that because it's a shit Rockbuster clue. But he's saying, right, if I'd have done that, if I'd have done a friend, it was Tourette's boy, friend of Ho-Lee Fuk, Foot. And it's like, no, the two are not comparable. They're not comparable. You can't go Ho-Lee Fuk, which is a blatant, pun against Tourette's boy, which is a shit Rockbuster clue.
It's really offensive because Tourette's, all right, Tourette's is a condition, so you could argue that it's a bit offensive. But yeah, I agree with you on that.
No, not at all. Not really, because he says that bloke from the North Midlands can't stop swearing, which is exactly what Tourette's. Like, okay, that's not what Tourette's is.
Yeah, I know, but if you'd said basically it's a mental stroke physical health condition, so I'm not saying it's too offensive. It's a funny clue because it's so bad. Like, and
exactly,
it's funny.
That's what you should take away from it.
Steve makes that clue because of the way that he kind of delivers the line and the way that he kind of introduces Carl's who's going to say what the answer is, and it's funny because it's so bad, but it could be argued to be offensive. But I'm agreeing with you anyway. I'm saying that, yeah, that's an example of where Ricky's like, oh, you can't do that, and then straight away mentions Ho-Lee Fuk again, like as if I'd given Ho-Lee Fuk a friend. Like, Ho-Lee Fuk's enough, and but both of us are not saying like, oh, we listened to that and it's too offensive. It is offensive. You got to. I am entertained by it, and I also acknowledge things that are offensive. So it's a duality, and it's kind of, we like it. Obviously, it's one of our favorites, but it's because we kind of. I don't want people to get the wrong impression.
When you're reassessing these shows nowadays, you're always going to have this kind of. But I'll tell you something you can also look back on and go, oh, that's a bit weird. Obviously, we've got those comedy characters, and he says, oh, it might not be your sort of humour. Sort of Chris Moyles did stuff like that. I've actually got some of Chris Moyles' old radio features from his show at Radio 1. This one's called Blobbusters. This was in 1999, 2002. In a tribute to Blobbusters, Chris played the host as Blob Holmes, and team members would be the contestants. Blob would ask questions such as, what C did Nelson Mandela find in his garden? What P is Gary Glitter? And that's it.
God, okay. Well, that, it's topical. At the time, it was topical at least.
Okay, so this one, 6 o'clock moment from the early bit, the breakfast show. Chris would play a song, usually from the 80s, and get a member of the team to sing along with it. Unbeknownst to them, Chris would sometimes drop the backing track. That's not bad. I would probably do that feature.
But you can't do that feature more than once without someone knowing that, well, he's going to drop the backing track, so that I'm just going to, because if you've heard it once, if it became popular, you can't kind of fool people. It's like all right, he's done it, but Ali G, you can only fool someone by being Ali G once, and once it comes out and the video, you can't keep fooling. But anyway, it's not a great feature. So I can't imagine people who listen to Chris Moores. If you're out there and listening, by the way, and you can carry on with this and say, if you're a listener who listens to Chris Moores genuinely, like, it's okay, I'll invite you into my world in some way, but I just want to know what you see in Chris Moores and what you find entertaining about him.
I think he's probably mellowed now as he's gotten older. I don't mind. He's done a chat with Stephen Merchant, and that's actually, I'll try and find that interview, but it's funny because Chris does actually bring up the fact that, Steve and Ricky used to proper
That's good. I like that. I actually that
Right,
that
but
that
time's
makes me
passed now,
feel.
hasn't it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I might have been aware of that, but I forgot. But yeah, I think you're right. He's probably not mellowed, isn't the right word, but he's kind of he's adapted and changed, and he's
Yeah.
not as wacky. That's the thing I hate, wackiness.
Wackiness is the worst. Same with like kookiness in films. This one's called Camp Cops. This is bad. A set of short daily sketches where Chris, Dave, and Will would put on camp voices pretending to be policemen for the UK Build show, where there have been situations such as mistaking hairdryers for pistols.
Okay, okay.
That's kind of part catchphrase, which was that. I think that was quite a popular one, wasn't it?
Mars, can we play Camp Cops next week?
Oh, hello. This one's called Dick Cheese. How are you even saying that?
He did that.
This is from 2000. Character based on the style of local FM reports, Dick featured in situations such as interference cutting out the road names he was reporting on. It was sponsored by Robinson's Fruit Preserves, the only sort of jam you could look forward to getting stuck in. What does that even mean?
Was it genuinely sponsored by them? I don't know, but
it wasn't. It's on Radio 1. This is one's called Early Portuguese. During Euro 2004, the team presented the show from a villa in Portugal, and Dave tried to teach Chris some Portuguese phrases every day, despite the fact he can't speak Portuguese himself. That's just teaching a bloke a language.
No, that's all right. Because no, actually, it's not. Like, that's the only feature. That's the first one you've listed that I think, okay, I could kind of get a bit behind that, because the thing that makes that feature funny, or I'm sure, I don't know if they did it funny, but that could make the feature funny, is the fact that the person who's teaching doesn't know the language at all. If he knew Portuguese, it would just be a bit boring. You're just teaching in Portuguese, but because he doesn't know Portuguese and he's trying to teach it, it could kind of work. I'm just saying it could.
Did you produce the Chris Moyles show back in 2002?
From Birmingham University on the 13th floor of a student accommodation block, which is where I was.
Maybe. Frog or dog? How about this one? I'll do two more. Frog or dog? Another of Dave's little features from the Saturday show. Two callers on the line, and one has to do an impression of a frog, the other a dog. One variation was International Frog or Dog. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
Oh, this is the last one I'll do, because is she really going out with him? One-off feature discussing, two writers on one-off feature discussing odd celebrity partnerships such as Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. What stand-up from circa 2000 wouldn't have made that observation before?
No, I know. Yeah, it's very dated and kind of a cliche.
But it must be hard, though, to be fair to Moyles. And, it's funny because they said, we listen to Moyles because we listen to idiots as inspiration for The Office. Yeah, that's probably not fair. But that's the sort of thing that Brent would do in it. Like, he would probably be a fan of Chris Moyles and his wacky stuff. I
wish Ricky had got through to Chris Moyles when he's calling. I just wish he'd got through and done golf cart. It pains me that he didn't. But so those were some features that the Chris Moyles show used to feature. Just listeners won't know this because Mars is going to cut some out and leave some in. But Mars actually went through 38 different features, and I did all of. So, but you didn't hear that because he's going to cut out the best ones.
I'll tell you what, though, something that we could do for this show.
Dog or frog?
No. And we've still got our favourite quotes to come and XFM with the community. But maybe, why don't we end on this one? Send us your money. Chris said he was a bit short of cash, so invited listeners to send money into the team. Chris read out their messages on air for the privilege. He later discovered this policy is against BBC guidelines, so it was banned. But I don't think it's against podcast guidelines.
No, it's not. So send us. I'll post my bank details with the link to the show.
Oh, sorry.
I really wanted to say this because you want money. Actually, we should have mentioned this at the beginning, but basically we are on Patreon. That's not what we should mention, but you do join us on Patreon. You will get bonus shows, video content, things like that. There's one bonus show on there at the moment. But we're going to post
Gary with a beard.
See me with a beard. But we have a new Patreon.
I think it's a he. We were talking about personal pronouns before.
It's not. It's a she. It's Jessie. Jessie.
Yeah,
Jesse,
but that could be a guy as well.
okay, so Jesse, let us know if you're a guy or a girl, but thank you so much. Jesse Arujo. So thank you, Jesse, whoever you are, whatever
Jesse
you are.
is a long-term listener, a DTRT, if you will, of our YouTube community, and you can listen to all of the shows on YouTube because we're on there as well.
We're on YouTube as well, but we're also on Patreon. But don't send us your money. No, I don't want that. I wouldn't.
I do.
But
I sort of, in
yeah.
a way.
Okay. Well,
How much money do you want?
send some.
Because I told you about the. I've been playing Nintendo
lots
Switch.
of Zelda.
I've been playing lots of Zelda, but I've actually got a copy of Link's Awakening on the Nintendo Switch. If anyone wants to buy that, £20 ONO, and I'll send it to you next day delivery. Make Miles a Christmas. Make Miles a festive Christmas. Because I'm going into tier 3 next week, Gary.
Well, yeah,
and that means
not you. It's London, which has got 15
I don't care about the other Londoners. I care about me and my social life.
Well, I went tier 2. It's not that much different, but it's like you don't have a social life.
You've been in tier 2 since 2002.
Listen, Miles has not been doing anything. He's been wandering around, Breath of the Wild. He's been wandering around like on a horse, probably some of the time, like just traversing this huge world, and that's all he's been doing for the last week. So you wouldn't have done anything even if you were in tier 3 now, mate. Okay, welcome back to the D-Trout Spinners. I'm Gary Forrester, with me is Miles Purnell. I think, I don't even know what happens, but you heard a bit of silence, a bit of music, and then a bit more silence, and then me again. So it's not much of a break for you guys, but it was a little break for us.
Do you know, Gary, I've got a problem actually. So I went to the shop to see my little man to get some refreshments from the shop, and there was an Amazon parcel that was for me, and I was so excited to see a parcel because I was like, I haven't ordered anything. Oh, tell me your opinion on this. We've got a Zoom Christmas party for work, and we're also doing Secret Santa, where we have to open our presents in the Zoom screen, and there's going to be an award for best Christmas jumper, best Christmas background on Zoom, and all this stuff just makes me hate the 21st century.
Can I come to that call to do that sort of thing? Those involve everything I hate: Secret Santa, Zoom calls, Christmas jumpers, fun, forced fun.
Fun. Carl would hate forced fun. Oh no, sorry. As Mr. Dilkinson said, he'd actually seen Robin Ince perform stand up live, and he said forced fun is like that's the definition of a Robin Ince stand up. And I've seen some of Robin Ince's stand up, and it's all right, but he does do what Ricky says. He does talk really, really fast. And don't get me wrong, Robin, please do come on the show. So I opened the Amazon parcel, opened it up, right, and it's a cigarette case. That's weird. And then a moustache comb, because I usually support a moustache. I don't at the moment, but because I'm shaven haven. But I was like, I don't really know what to do with it. They put this note in. Right, I'll read this out. And it said, Amazon.co.uk, a gift from Anna. Enjoy your gift. Enjoy your gift from SS. So thanks, Anna, for my cigarette case and my moustache comb. Greatly appreciated. I look forward to pretending to be surprised when I don't open them up on Friday next week.
And you don't even need.
Are you looking forward to Christmas, by the way? Is that something in the Gary calendar? Is that something that you look forward to?
Well, I think the little baby Jesus deserves a celebration of his birth every year.
Satire that.
Well, that's not satire at all. The baby Jesus. I don't think.
I haven't met him yet.
But no, not particularly looking forward to Christmas. But I'm not hating Christmas either. But I'm a bit like Carl in that sense. I'm not. What are you? You're not anything. I'm not anything. I'm kind of. But anyway, well, I think that's enough about faith and celebration and fun.
What's your favourite faith? Email in.
This is favourite quotes. We do favourite quotes now. I think we should do.
Let's do it. It's my favourite. It's my favourite day.
Yeah, that was my favourite day. So there's some quotes here that aren't like outright funny to me, but they're just interesting quotes as well. So anyway, do you want to start off with your first one?
Sure. So firstly, all of Ricky's ad/comedy characters.
Okay, you should have gone through it.
I know, so I was going, oh, Dr. Frog here. It was a brand new show. Yeah, no, everyone knows what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
they're all going in the Miles and Gary Bank.
Yeah, I endorse that. Well, actually, I'll go do one that Ricky does in that voice because I've got one that's kind of.
Okay.
Does a
Are
bit
you
like,
going to do it in the voice?
I'm going to do it in the voice, and I shouldn't do it because I'm worried about my uni thing.
Stop worried about your uni thing.
No, but I've got a boyfriend. No,
Steve's got some
boyfriend.
fantastic like laughs and comebacks to those, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Don't talk shite twice.
Don't talk shite twice.
The best, really, not my favourite monkey news, but that's a very funny quote.
Yeah, that's good. No, it was too ill to get there.
Yeah, I love that. Carl comparing his own illness with Steve. Tell me the next time one of his family dies and we'll have a chat.
Yeah.
I just, again, a slither of darkness from Carl.
That's genuine darkness, yeah. We'll come to the supermarket and hang about in the frozen chicken.
But he hesitates a bit, doesn't he, there? It's great.
It's chicken. Oh, but the hesitation makes it.
I'm always looking for stuff, learning stuff as well as doing my other job and that.
Yeah.
Just love that. Just Carl coming back on.
Like it's because they're on this competing thing, like who can be the hardest worker, when they're all lazy, in fact. But they do compete when they're kind of antagonising each other. It's so satisfying to say in this voice. It's not the funniest quote, but it's just bravo, getting back with the Garibaldis. He's the best I've ever had. Bravo, getting back with the Garibaldis. He's the best I've ever had. Bravo. I just love it. He's doing it to someone with no teeth, which I don't know. It's just funny.
Oh, do you know what? I was listening to some really early Series Zero, and there's a bit where Ricky's mum is talking, but she hasn't got her teeth in, and she's about 73 or something, I think, and it's just so sweet. I mean, we've said it before, but I'm an absolute softie, so I love anyone that's got a lovely relationship with their mum. Just love it. I love it.
Don't look at me.
You said something about. No, I'm not saying about you. But you said something about in the Laurie Peters interview when I was editing it, and it really made me smile. And you said, Carl and Steve meet up sometimes to have a meal, and you said, I don't know why, but that's really nice to know that. And I know what you mean, because it's comforting for so many people, and we'll get onto this with XFM and the community later, but I think that show that we did with Laurie Peters, I think a lot of people are going to be comforted. A weird word to use, but I think they will be, knowing A, those stories were true, B, that there's no hard feelings, and everyone always thinks that Ricky and Carl and Steve have all fallen out. It's not the case, just life takes hold, doesn't it?
No. I kind of like a little reunion story in general, and obviously I've got a huge emotional attachment to Steve and Carl, as we all do as listeners. But even when you told me that Steve had been on with Chris Moyles, that kind of gives me comfort as well. I like to hear that as well. It's nice that there might be a bit of hard feeling, but this kind of made it up. But particularly with Steve and Carl, because they're so antagonistic, it's so funny. And it's so brilliant to listen to. But it's just really nice to know that they do still speak and meet up for meals and things. I find that pleasurable.
Absolutely. Granddad, are you having a Twix?
Yeah, that's a good one from Steve.
That's a great, nice way to wrap up that whole segment, because he says, you're like the Oasis brothers. You're so rude. And that's actually true, what he says, if you ever lost Suzanne, you'd be the loneliest man in the world, which, that's unfair.
Yeah, because I am.
That's true. I mean, you just like Oasis. You're not or rude like the Oasis.
No, but I'm the loneliest man.
The loneliest man.
So I've obviously thought I've got what I need, which I can totally imagine how difficult it was for Carl in that situation with the bosses coming in, listening to that.
It probably would have been Andrew Phillips as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I've heard him right. Well, no, but he had other executives.
Yeah, senior Oh, I'd like a severe blow. Get lost, David.
I know. I was going to put that in, but we say that when we're on the phone. Anything that comes up, there's anything like blow, the word blow, or any not in a dodgy way, but just if anything around that comes up, we'll say, "Oh, I'd love a severe blow." I just like this bit. This is a part of a wider quote, but this is the bit I like. Just Oh, I've got a lampshade.
Your lampshade.
Lampshade.
It's one of Ricky slurs. We always like a Ricky slur. It's not like that. You don't have to have your head squoze. Squoze!
Well, yeah.
And then the laughter that follows that. That's fantastic. There's some great laughs from Ricky and Steve here. Like
Yeah,
we did
Steve
it
laughs
once.
a bit more in this episode than he usually does. Is that Ho-Lee Fuk again?
That one as well. I've actually got no more.
Okay, I've got a couple. She had them on in the cab, which is very good. I like it. And this is a real one that I like. Did you approve it?
Yeah, that's great. Again, there are loads of people on the Reddit thread. God, I need to get a life. Playing Breath of the Wild and scouting Reddit threads.
No, I like you. I mean, you must spend hours on these threads. I never go.
Right.
I probably should to put the work in, but
No, you don't, because you've got an actual life and you've got qualifications.
So, mate, we've had a discussion about the show. We've had a little bit of chat at the beginning, a little bit of naughty chat. We've had favourite quotes. Yeah, I think it's time for XFM in the community. As we say, this is where we go through your feedback, and it's been a while since we've done a normal D-Trout Spinners, so I've heard there's quite a bit of feedback. I've read some of it myself, but Mars is going to go through it and I'll react to it.
This one's from Biggie56, and he is a new listener. He says, love your podcasts. I've been listening to the XFM shows since about 2008, and I didn't think anyone else would get it. I'm 60 years old, and my missus hates Ricky's laugh, and she is not a fan in general, but she don't mind the animated series. But she has been brainwashed by my constant replaying of them. Now she even calls Clive Owen Clive Warren. Outstanding interviews too, fellas. Enjoyed them all so much. The Dickmeister was very good indeed, and was nice hearing Lisa Ullman and Laurie Peters gave so much insight and info into the world of RSK. Thank you so much. He hasn't left his name. He's got Biggie56, but clearly you're doing something right in your marriage, though, because you've been going for a while. It's not bad.
How can I find a wolf? Might you be my thanks, Biggie? Yeah, 60 years old. Interesting. You know, it's like we always we talk off there. Sometimes we think like, what is our average age of listener? But it's interesting that we've got kind of a range. That's like I generally feel that people are younger than they are sometimes, but the shows have interest to anyone, of any age really. So yeah, really interesting to hear that you have become a listener, and thank you so much for your feedback, particularly about the interviews. We enjoy doing the interviews. We really enjoy them, and we are not interviewers. We've not done it before, apart from the ones we've done on this show. And but I think we feel if we feel proud about anything that we do, is we felt more proud about the interviews, not because we think, oh, they're so brilliant and things, but just because we try to create this relaxed kind of style in which the person we're interviewing feels relaxed and talks a lot, and that's kind of what we've done. So it's the only thing we've done well, but something.
We've done thank you, Biggie. And also great to know your wife's putting up with it, because my girlfriend doesn't.
Think of our listeners as single. I don't know why. Not insulting to them. I just do. I'm single myself, but then we had that email from the guy who met his wife in Canada via the shows somehow, like via an online forum, and he just went to Canada from like Australia or something.
It.
And but in general, I think our listeners might be single. But it's good to know, Biggie, that you are partnered, and if your nickname is anything to go by, I can tell why.
Oh God, Gary. I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah.
So this one is from Laurie Peters. I wonder who he could be.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Laurie, he's actually got in touch with one of. He's been commenting on our Twitter with regards to lovely comments that people have been leaving, which we'll read out now.
Thanks.
And we found out, obviously, he was the caretaker of the Tottenham courthouse where Radiohead performed in Rainbows, recorded in Rainbows. Which is one of my favourite Radiohead. And actually, it was so nice hearing that, because it combined two of my greatest loves, which is Radiohead and the XFM shows. And I saw Radiohead live, actually, at a festival in Poland, open air festival in Poland, which is fucking amazing.
But okay, so good for you. You've seen Radiohead, but yes.
Laurie said Radiohead slipped Lord Cardigan 20 grand in cash (envelope) the recording there for 2 weeks. Mental.
Really?
20k in pound sterling note.
Laurie, you're full of such interesting information. That is like, yeah, so you just would never know that otherwise. How does that work, though? I mean, for Radiohead, for Tom York, that's not
What do
much
you mean
money.
that doesn't work? Just get slips of money. Great,
But
cheers.
that doesn't. That's not how it works officially. But you just don't think of like that sort of like black market existing of like, well, we'll record it. Here you go.
Well, I think of that. Like, I reckon that happens all the time in these sort of circles. It must do.
Well, maybe I didn't think it would, but if that happened, then. But
Good.
thanks, Laurie. Thank you, Laurie. No, that's interesting. It's interesting nugget.
And then we've got a few. Obviously, the interview with Carl's friend from school, and they're still friends now. Laurie Peters, that's still available. And why would you say, Gary, that's a really good episode for people to listen to?
I think it's very like we can interview all sorts of people. We're trying to get lots of people involved who have been involved with the show on. We've got Richard Anderson, Andrew Phillips. They're all people who have an insight. But I think Laurie's insight is unique literally to him. He's the only, well, certainly one of the only, if not the only childhood friend of Carl Pilkington who's still a friend of his today. He has an insight that's different from anyone else you'll hear. That we interview or anyone else you hear talk about the XFM shows. And he also, apart from that, he was very engaging, very, very funny, you know, talked very well about Carl. And certain bits, I won't reveal them because, you know, go and listen, and were really revealing, weren't they? They were really interesting, kind of in a way that you could never get that from anyone else. Apart from Carl himself. I mean, he gave us a clip of. I mean, talked to us initially. I think it was off air, or maybe it's on air, about having a round of golf with Carl with a burnt out car on the course.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. But I was thinking maybe it was totally happened, but it was like much smaller car or something. But it was. He sent us a video clip of it afterwards. So
yeah, fantastic.
You know, that's one of the things we posted with the interview. But you'll enjoy it with Laurie, not for us, but for him.
So this one's from Steve Weller. Loved hearing Laurie chat about Carl, and I'm going to watch the Flies and Condoms vid again now. Yeah, great stuff, good. Fellas. Loved the confirmation of the horse in the house. I had a family who grew up on the estates in London and know those types of characters so well. So clearly it's not, you know, uniquely exclusive to the North. There are those mental characters.
Thank you. Who was that email from?
Steve Weller.
Steve Weller. Steve Weller. It sounds like a Radio 4 presenter. Steve Weller.
Yeah.
The afternoon. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the interview, and also it's nice when I hear that sort of thing, like, oh, I'm going to check out this because I heard the interview. So it's nice that you're checking out the Flies and Condoms. I think I might check that out myself again, but such an interesting video. But anyway, what's next?
This is from Milhausen. And he says, a brilliant interview. Made me laugh on my fake walking commute to work in my own house this morning. So I'd like to know what that consisted of. Was it just going up the stairs? Was it just walking around your flat?
Milhausen, thank you. Whatever your commute to your living room involved, I'm glad you found it funny and you enjoyed the interview. Thank you very much for your feedback.
This is from Mr. Dilkington, who was a D-Trout.
Oh, hello, yeah.
Says, brilliant. Your show seemed more professional sounding when you were interviewing people. Laurie's opening statements had some big stories from Carl condensed. Great guest. One day you'll get Carl himself. And can I just say, Mr. D, we did actually, in our follow-up response via email, we did sort of say, can you put a good word for us, please? Because we do know that Carl has listened to the D-Trout Spinners podcast, and so he is well aware of our existence and probably dismisses it straight away.
Yeah, well, the thing Laurie said, first of all, was like, before I think it was off air, is like, Carl hates anything to do with himself. He can't understand why the shows are popular. Like, so, you know, he hates talking about them. So it's incredibly unlikely that he'd come on. But if we're ever going to get Carl, it would be because Laurie has kind of convinced him to go on the show. And we'd never approach Laurie or arrange an interview with Laurie as sort of a conduit to get Carl. It was never that. We wanted to interview Laurie on his own merits. But as we interviewed him, and then we've had sort of followed up with him, we did ask him if Carl would be interested.
Yeah.
So we watch this space. You know, you never know. Although I do know pretty likely. But you know, we are looking to get. Obviously, the big three guests would be Ricky, Carl, and Steve. We don't think Ricky would ever do it ever. Steve is a maybe, and Carl is unlikely, but a slim maybe. So, but anyway, we're working on it. Rest assured to get all of them on.
Yeah. This is from Chimozu Fu. I love you guys' little giggles and mutterings to yourself when he first mentioned the paper round. Great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
This is Chimozu is a listener on our YouTube platform where we also put out all of the shows. So I do direct you to go there if you indeed don't want to go to Apple or Spotify, however you listen to your podcasts. But we do read all of your emails and your comments. And,
well, not all of them. We didn't read those ones that said, well, let me just preface them now. Like, they say they were imitating Ricky and Steve. They obviously want to be Ricky and Steve. Not very entertaining. 2 stars. We didn't read that one out.
No.
But anyway,
5 stars upwards, please. 5 stars upwards.
Yeah,
and also thanks to everyone that did comment and rate our podcast as a result of that interview. I really do appreciate it because I do like stats. I'm a stat man. You know, the scat man. Oh, that was a tune, wasn't it? Maybe we should put that in our.
I danced to that in my primary school leaving disco. I think it did. And what was the other one? I can't think. Maybe I'll put that in.
Did you slow dance to Become One by Spice Girls?
No, I don't think I did.
Did you ever invite like anyone? Because I remember in our primary school disco, like I did actually ask someone, would you go to the dance?
Oh no, I never did that. No, I wasn't. No,
I don't know why.
No, not at school. Well, we in the secondary school one where you're more likely to have like an actual partner. All of my group of friends, we all just went together instead of like going with a date, and 1 or 2 went with like a date, and some people hooked up with people during it, but not me. But other people.
Yeah, well, I just imagine you sitting there on your sofa, and you're sort of waiting there with your parents, and then the door goes, and it goes ding dong, and it goes, oh hello.
Oh hello, and then my mum says that's for me. No, it's we had Mr. Duck. He was called Mr. Duck, the DJ. And I think he's in prison now. No, that's libelous. He's not at all. No, it was called Ed the Duck was his proper name. Ed the Duck. And he DJ'd our primary school leaving do. But we are digressing here. What was your point about scat? What was you saying? I've totally forgotten.
Let's move on to the next one. This one's from Accidental XFM, who is one of our partners who we like to sort of collaborate with regularly on Twitter. And do follow Accidental, by the way. Puts out some really funny memes and some nice trivia questions for you XFM nuts. Wow, that interview with Laurie Peters was incredible. To know and hear that he was there for so many of those moments in Carl's life was really special. It's great to get that kind of insight. Well done, lads. Oh, you are very welcome, Accidental.
Thank you very much, Accidental, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm pleased you enjoyed it.
I've got 3 more. This is from Jamie Banks. Brilliant. Listen, lads, so interesting to hear some untold stories of someone I've spent nearly 20 years listening to. Really good of Laurie to share all of that. Was a great chat, and can't believe Tom York knew about the room with the dead flies. Mental. Thanks for the cast. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for messaging us. And we do strive to please here at the Trout Spinners. And may I just say, like with the Laurie Peters, I was so keen to get this one out because I knew that A, he would be a great guest, and B, with something that we've spent so much of our lives obsessed by, and you get these behind the scenes insights. It's just so refreshing to hear new information. And I don't want to talk about it too much. When we first started this podcast, it was like people were like, oh, I don't know about this. You know, should we listen to this? Is it worth it? Are they going to offer any new insights? And so for me, it was really great to have Laurie on and to offer something more and to sort of try and bring on board some of the haters.
Well, there was one,
The indifference.
The indifference. But one person did comment once and say they offer no new insight. And I'll say this: we are not here to tell you in general, the general show, bits that you do. We all know that you know the shows as well as us. You know every line as we do. So we can't come on in a normal show and kind of tell you things you don't know, but we're just telling you our opinion. We're sort of just chatting around the show, and that's what it's always meant to be. However, and this is shared, Mars, we both wanted to get Laurie on very much because, and same with all the people we've interviewed, because they can offer new insight and different insight. But in the general normal show, that comment was like, well, no, of course we're not. We can't. What in new actual facts can we offer? We're not here to offer new facts, but actually with the interviews, that is one thing where we can offer new insight. Well, not us, but our guests. And it's nice to know that the insight that we kind of got out of Laurie has resonated with people, and really appreciate it in your feedback and comments, because we were really hopeful about Laurie more than the other guests, I think, and he lived up to all our hopes and expectations.
Absolutely, and a feeling that resonated with Sayoma. This is the best podcast episode about RSK content without RSK. So that's really sweet. Thank you very much.
It's the only one.
We are trying our hardest.
Well, sometimes.
Oh, sorry.
It's something we enjoy doing, but we do put kind of it is like a passion for us, this podcast, and we do work hard. Kind of like around it. I mean, I don't actually. Mars does most of the work around it, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very nice when people enjoy it. And that's
absolutely. It. And the last one we've got from our XFM in the community segment is from Phil Thompson. You guys smashed it. This is the best insight I've heard. Love the story at the end with Radiohead. Yeah, it's great. Absolutely fab story for Radiohead as well. And that bizarre house. Maybe we could all organise a school trip sometimes to Tottenham Court House, all of us and our D-Trouties.
Oh, imagine that. And they're all wearing like high-vis jackets, and we've got like a flag, and they have to follow us, like when you see primary school children being taken out.
Well, on that note, I've actually been out myself and recorded with my friends a little XFM in the community London tour, where I've explored some of the London hotspots mentioned in the radio shows, and it will be exclusively available to our Patreons, of which there are a few of you now. And so if you do want to see that exclusive content, then do head over to our site, which there's a link in the description, and you'll be able to see that video there once it's ready. And there'll be lots of other treats set to come for the Christmas.
There will be a difference between. I've said this last year, but there will be a noticeable difference in the quality of editing between my videos and Mars. But hopefully just as
good. And for anyone who likes the Trout spinners, there's something there for everyone. Gary, we are wrapping up, and I'm bored of talking to you, as I always say every week. Let's do our D-Trout Spinners library. This is where Gary and I select a song each that either has some sort of sentimental or some sort of meaning to us generally, and then we
not in my case this week, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, that's good. Mine has no preface that, and we put it into our Spotify playlist, which there'll be. So you can listen to tons of Oasis there.
We were talking off air in the break, and I said, well, we'll get to this point and let's have a pause for like 5 minutes whilst I think of a song. But I've got one.
What's your song?
It is Scatman.
By
Scatman John. Because actually, in all sense, that does have an emotion tied to me, because it was either very late in my primary school, very early in my secondary school, it kind of came out. And as I say, I do remember dancing to it at a disco somewhere, either primary school or it might be later than that. And as soon as you said it, you just said Scatman, and it just came back to me. So it does have a slight emotional draw, if I can kind of be so bold
Oh,
as
absolutely.
this one. Yeah.
I like it. The other two songs, I don't know if you danced these in your school disco, but it was Five, Keep on Moving. That was a big, but also Van Morrison. Just
Oh,
wanna dance the night
yeah,
away.
we did dance, and I've just remembered another one, and I did slow dance to this, and
What
it
was it?
is "Kiss from a Rose." Kiss from a
From
rose
Seal.
on the wit seal, yeah.
Sea Hull. From Sea Hull.
CL,
Um,
CL. Oh,
my song that I would like to plug into the XFM library, into the Trout Spinners library, sorry, is we've been talking about them, so it only makes sense that we put in Nude from Radiohead from the In Rainbows
yeah. Okay.
album, which is a fantastic. I heard it live, and yeah, just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan. Probably not as
It took
well
me a
as
long time to get into Radiohead as well, because I think they're the sort of band where you kind of need to be a certain age. That's a huge generalization, but you sort of need to have time to sort of mull on it and sort of respect the music a bit.
well, they don't use very, very, very standard and well trodden and used like and Oasis did this. They did use it. Sort of what would be called. They don't use sort of well trodden and standard cliche little hooks in their music, so they don't kind of use they don't I don't know what it is, but they musical progression where you go from an A to a B to an A flat to a B, that sounds kind of something that embraces you, or that you embrace, sorry. So they use their music is far more kind of, it's unique to them, and they don't put in
Yeah.
those mass market little punchy.
And of course you got like Johnny Greenwood, who does like great musical scores to cinematic scores, sorry, to like big films, Phantom Thread, There'll Be Blood, like, yeah, fab. Anyway, that was the show. This was the Deach Out Spinners.
Nice
Do
ending.
get in touch with us at spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or spinnerspodcast on Twitter. Any final notes, Gary?
No, I've enjoyed the show. We're finally back to doing spinners. If you wondering if you'd been sort of thinking, oh, I wish they'd do a spinners sooner, like a normal one. Don't worry, we've done this one. We're gonna do. I can't imagine anyone does think like that, but if you did, don't worry. We're going to do one next week as well. And in the run up to Christmas, we'll probably do a Christmas special. So listen out for that, and do check us out on Patreon if you want. Don't have to, but it's just a nice little extra. And yes, thanks for listening to this show, and thanks so much for your feedback, particularly on the Laurie interview. Always enjoy hearing your feedback and reacting to it. And the interview seems to have gone down well. It's not for what we did well. It was more Laurie just being an interesting guest, but glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks for listening. For our Christmas special, I should just mention, we're kind of thinking, it's a bit loose here, so it's just an idea, but send in ideas for sort of games and things that you might want us to play on air, and we'll do a special show where we don't necessarily talk about an episode of the D-Trout Spinners, but we'll still talk around XFM, and they can be XFM linked games. But yeah, whatever you want us to play, let us know, and we'll do a kind of special. And if no one responds to that, then I don't know, we'll just crop and do a special. All right, we won't do one, okay? So you need to reply.
Just whatever.
We'll do something else. But yeah, if you want us to do something on air, as long as it's legal, let us know.
Do you want to eat grapes?
And see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye bye.